This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I've tracked him down. I'm finally joined by Kalle Sauerland. Kalle, how are you? It's been a long time since we last spoke.
I'm great, buzzing, looking forward to a great media day here today. We've got some fantastic UK talent here, signed already, some new signings today, and of course we've got Eubank Jr down here as well, so lots to talk about.
There is lots to talk about and try and work through. I know there's a queue which will form very shortly, so we'll try and get through them all. Let's start off with the new signings though. Josh Kelly, Harlem Eubank and Nathan Gorman. Firstly, where did these signings come about from and why did you opt to sign those three individuals?
Well, I'll start with, you said Gorman last, so I'll start with him first. And I think Nathan is a fantastic talent. He's in a fantastic weight class and he's someone that we believe we can make in the first line, start off with some big domestic fights and let those lead to the big international ones. So very exciting. He's a great character and he's someone who we think that we can definitely build a great future for.
Josh Kelly, obviously very well known to the British public, his amateur exploits, and of course had a very good run up until that Avanesian fight. Talk to me about the job at hand for you guys and the process you want to try and get him back to where he was prior to that defeat.
Yeah, I mean, he was very much built up as the golden boy of Sky, the future of Sky Sports Boxing, with together with Buatsi, you'd argue. And he ran into a very tough opponent very early in his career. I think it was 12th pro fight, and you know those things happen. There's setbacks, yeah, and you know he's still a fantastic talent and an amazing character to market. He's a fun guy, but he's also a very, very good boxer and someone that. You know, we're quite lucky. We've had a lot of the work done for us. People know Josh Kelly, and we'll certainly build on that, and we'll be moving in very quickly.
I mean, is there anybody in particular you guys are looking at when it comes to Josh? Because that domestic scene, and certainly as has been mentioned many times, that kind of Ben fight is one which everybody's...
It's the one name, isn't it? You just said you answered the question for me. I mean, Josh Kelly, Conor Benn, that's a massive fight. It has to be built properly. But that is a huge, huge domestic fight, and it could be one of those domestic fights that decides who goes forward to the world level. That's what we feel, and that's what we feel the potential is. But there's also some other great fights to make along the way. But it'll be about getting him back out, getting that mojo back again. And Josh is a fantastic. I wouldn't even say prospect because he's already reached things, especially at amateur level. So we know what he's about, and I think. The reason that Sky backed him so much in the past is something that people see, and for a broadcaster, he's potentially a dream.
Just before we do move on to Harlem, just to go back to Nathan, one fight which has been kind of talked about is the Fabio Wardley one. Is that one you guys are considering for Nathan? I spoke to Fabio last night. He certainly wants that. If it can be made next, then that's what he wants. Yeah,
I mean, Wardley's a great fight. There's a few of them out there. I mean, Derek Chisora, throw another one out there. It's a great fight to make, There's lots of names in the division, and I could go through them, and give him a few fights, and he's, as I said, let's get some domestic, interesting fights together on that one, and we'll be working with all the other promoters to do that. Watch him in that, and then let him build to potentially go on to international level. That's the idea, It's once again heavyweights. Always interested, and Nathan with his personality is combined with that boxing skill that he has is a fantastic signing.
And of course Harlem Eubank, that Eubank name firmly linked with you guys, and of course with Wasserman as well.
Absolutely, for us at Wasserman Boxing, it's a very it was on the one hand the name, but let's not forget the talent here. He's in a very exciting weight class. I've done a lot around the super lights as well, obviously. So I've managed to work with the best super lightweights in the world, Josh Taylor, Regis Progress. So I've seen the very best, and I've seen what Harlem's doing with Adam Booth in the gym. And, he's obviously not there yet, but, he's someone who we believe in the next year will also be a headliner. He's got the talent, he's got the name, as you said, but he's, I think he comes out in his own right, so it's going to be very interesting.
Let's move on to Chris Eubank Jr, arguably the star name here today. How's Chris doing? How are things looking for him ahead of his bout with Sven Albert?
Look, I mean, he's had a tough few months. Let's not beat around the bush here. Yeah? So this is although people are writing Sven Albert off, although he's a world-ranked opponent, and Chris is coming out of a difficult period of his life. So this is a difficult fight in many sense without even looking at the opponent for him. But it's a fight that leads to, we hope, a bigger fight, and something that we believe that we're in negotiations with a couple of people and opponents where we think we can bring some super fights towards the end of this year and also during the course of next year. So it's a little bit sort of working out a full journey, and once again you set it up and you hope then that it all goes well in the ring. But he's looking fantastic. The work with Roy is really shining through, and as I've said it before, the kid is a superstar, and people who say he hasn't fought opponents. Listen, he's fought James DeGale, he's fought George Groves, he's fought Billy Joe, and the Billy Joe fight, he lost the first fight, but anyone who looks back at that fight will see what a competitive fight it was, and had he had maybe a different training team or even a training team in the corner for that fight, would have been a different outcome potentially. Has Billy Joe improved? He's improved. They both improved, so it's a fantastic fight to make. I think Liam Williams, someone who's been very vocal in calling out Eubank, I think is also a fight to make. Would be a very, very interesting fight to make. So there's lots of those sort of domestic ones, but of course Golovkin, of course Andrade. Those are the names that we're very much chasing at the moment.
One of those I want to touch on is Gennady Golovkin. I've seen his name certainly bandied about recently. Can you update us as to where things currently stand? I saw that you was entering talks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've had a few flirting discussions over the last few months, but ultimately they have an agreement somehow to fight Murata at the end of the year. So we know that whether that's taking place or not, it's sort of a bit of a talk of the industry at the moment. I know Mr. Honda is one of the best promoters in the world, and he's a great promoter from Japan, but I think they have a lot of issues there around the COVID situation, and I really hope they get that fight on, because it's a fantastic fight for boxing. It's a great fight, and we'll certainly be looking at the winner. And we spoke to Murata's people as well, to Mr. Honda, so that's something that's very, very interesting as well.
I want to touch on a few of the other guys who will be knocking about today. Brad Pauls, how excited are you to see his career unfold now with yourself leading it?
Listen, Pauls brings it all. He's a great weight class in middleweight. Good puncher, character. But we've gone in a very short space of time at Wasserman Boxing and accumulated, I think, a fantastic stable of stars, sort of stars in the making, and stars that will be the future. So it's. Look here today, Chloe Watson, also fantastic female talent. Linus Adolfo just been announced for Felix Cash, British title. Great fight. We're straight up for that one. That's a fantastic domestic clash. And but also the heavy boys, Matty Harris. You've got Hosea Stewart, I call him Tiny. I don't think he likes that. So he's the Midlands monster. Look at Harvey Horn. There's a collection of Razor Ali's another one. Pick him out, who's got a fantastic storyline. So there's this great stable that have come together in this period of time, and that's great news. Also for fans, because we've obviously signed our deal now with Sky and with Boxer, and got a multi-event deal where we'll be showcasing not only Chris Eubank Jr. but other talents, and it's a fantastic platform, of course. And we're busy expanding that stable, and that's what we're doing in the UK at the moment, alongside. Philip Hrgovic last weekend. Myris Breedis is going to be boxing in October. We got a big show in Germany in November. A big show in Norway coming up. So that all rolls along the side. So at the moment, it's all hands on deck.
Just wanted to touch on Philip Hrgovic, obviously stoppage win this past weekend. Just get your thoughts on that, a reaction to it, and also where do things stand with that IBF's mandatory situation?
Yeah, I mean the fight was what it was. It was a keep busy fight. It's a guy who's been in camp since January who needed to fight. You know, he's not called El Animal for no reason. He had to fight. He went out, did the business, and did everything we expected him to do. And, you know, he moves now on to back to where we were, and that's the IBF situation. So we're in talks with the IBF now how that's going to play out, and that fight will happen later this year. And we fully expect that by Christmas time, Filip Hrgovic will be the official mandatory challenger to Anthony Joshua or Alexander Usyk. Of course, a big fight next week.
Just get your thoughts on that. What's your take on Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk, somebody who you will know very well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously promoted Usyk, and he's a fantastic talent. I mean, technically, just like, even like the footwork is some of the best I've ever seen, the hand speed. But he gets tagged, and you can't get tagged at this weight. He got tagged with Del Boy, but he's got tagged in every cruiserweight I've seen him in, and he shook him off. He got tagged many times with Myris Bridis in a fight that was so level, and I just think that if he gets tagged with AJ, I think it's going to be very difficult to come round. So I think the early rounds I see Usyk using that boxing skill and looking very, very good, and maybe AJ even looking a bit silly at times, because he's got the ability to do that. We don't need to be experts to admit that Usyk, boxing skill-wise, probably one of the best boxers in the world at the moment. Actually, with his countryman Lomachenko, when it look at skill like that. But Joshua's a finisher, he's a predator. I don't buy into that Joshua is this one power punch, you know, freak of nature puncher like a Wilder. But Joshua is a finisher, and once he gets him, I think that Joshua will jump on top of him. So I think that AJ probably gets the victory with a late stoppage, but it's a hell of a fight, and it's a fight I'm very much looking forward to.
Fury Wilder 3 takes place 2 weeks after that again. Just want to get your thoughts on it, Kalle?
I just can't see what Wilder can do different. You know, I think Tyson Fury, for me, has shown he's the man to beat at heavyweight. I do believe that. And it's just, is that inactivity going to have some sort of a role? But I mean, you know, if there's anyone who's been just as inactive, it's been Wilder. So it can't really favour either. But who will adapt to that better? It's a long period of inactivity. Tyson's been there before and had that. I think that, for me, once you have a man's number like Tyson had his number, and of course we can say, oh, well, in the first fight he got knocked down and, you know, he just survived the count. Maybe it was a bit of a longer count. You know, all these discussions could come out. But in the second fight, it was so one-way traffic, and I don't care if that walk-in gown weighed 2 tons. No excuses. He worked him off the front foot, didn't let him get his punches off. And what's he going to do to stop that? What is he going to do differently in the second or the third fight, to do that? And I just can't see it going differently. But hey, heavyweight boxing, I'll be tuning in.
Final thing, Kalle, obviously we saw a sad first-round stoppage defeat for Evander Holyfield this past weekend against Vitor Belfort. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. I promoted Evander Holyfield's last bout, his last 2 or 3 bouts actually, and that was a long time ago, when it was already was on the borderline. And he had a fantastic fight against Nikolai Valuev for the world title, heavyweight world title in Zurich. I remember promoting that. And actually, a lot of people argued he won that fight. So, but for me, I didn't watch it because, you know, I think some of the Triller events are fantastic. But for me, Evander is very close to my heart. And it was, yeah. I mean, I've just seen the still pictures. I don't actually look at it. So, I did see David though fight his pal Joe. So David's back. That's the Haymaker's back.
When you call that Tyson Fury, would you be interested to see them two cross paths?
Listen, I mean, you know, in boxing anything's possible. I don't know if that was tongue in cheek or whatever. I think sort of Tyson's obviously got his fight now, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, Fury Hay is always that fight that we didn't see. Yeah, but David's also probably in a little bit of a different physical condition today than he was then. But only he will know that.
Well, Kalle, as I said, a queue would form, and that has happened to be the case. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you.